Hello and welcome to the class of Amazon S3. So today in this class we are going to study about object storage. In our previous class we have discussed about storage in the form of blocks and files. Now here in this case instead of managing data, that means instead of managing data as blocks or files using, I will write here, instead of managing data as blocks or files, using the various kinds of protocol like we have SCSI or we can have CIFS, NFS protocols. Now instead of using this, it is being managed by object. That means storage is managed by object using API. Now here with S3 we have a storage of object storage with proper API, which is API stands for Application Program Interface. So we have object storage with proper API, and this API is built on standard HTTP. Hypertext Transfer Protocol system. So here we are using, that means Amazon S3 is using object storage which is built on API rather than using storage in the form of blocks or files with these kinds of protocols. Now, each Amazon S3 object contains both data and metadata. So we have S3 object. Now what this object contains? It contains both data and metadata. So this is an object and this object contains both data as well as metadata. Now object resides in containers. These objects, these resides in containers. So what are these containers known as? These we call it as buckets. So if you form a bucket, that this is my complete bucket and this is basically a container. So here my objects will be stored. So object basically resides in a container, so we call it as bucket. Each object is identified a unique user specific key. This object is identified by a specific, or we can say user specific key. That means user specific means that user has to define it. So we call it as user specific key file name. So we have some important terms over here. We have object storage. So S3 object. It resides in buckets. Now user identified key, we have its file name. Now what are these buckets? Buckets are simple flat folders with no file system hierarchy. These are flat folders with no file system hierarchy. With no file system hierarchy. For example, or that means if you have multiple buckets, if we have multiple buckets but no sub bucket within a bucket, that means we have our individual buckets. There is no provision of sub bucket within a bucket because here we don't have any file hierarchy system. We have individual buckets and we can store our data in these buckets. Now, each bucket can have unlimited amount of objects. It can store unlimited amount of this is what its capacity is. So here in case of Amazon S3, we can get an object or put an object. Get an object. We can put an object. That means we can add and we can retrieve an object. Now operating on a whole object at once instead of incrementally updating portion of the object in a file. So if we have one object, we can operate on this object at a time instead of operating on a portion of the object. We can't mount a bucket. We can't open a bucket instead of operating system on Amazon S3 or run a database in it. That means we can run a database to see and to store number of objects in it. This is about object storage in Amazon S3. Thank you so much.